Today, agenda for the session today is CRO in the age of AI. So that's a topic, and my name is Ajay Batra. I'm going to run this session. I lead the SEO practice at Lead Walnut. So this session will run approximately 20-25 minutes. We have 10 to 15 slides. And post that, we can take any questions which you may have. So we'll start here. As we said, CRO in the age of AI, and very important in today's changing landscape, because we see that audience whole behavior is getting changed, right? They are becoming well informed now. When they come to your website, they are well informed. So that makes CRO far more critical for any business to ensure the sustained growth than ever in the past, right? So with that background, let's get started. So what I'm going to cover, it's a quite busy slide, so don't want to don't get confused. Basically, we'll see how AI and geo is killing your traffic. We know that traffic is becoming scarce now, and so any visitor which come to your site are far more valuable now, right? Because people are getting a lot more information outside itself before they land to the website. And CRO Math will see how a 20 to 50% lift in conversions can definitely help you to grow revenue. And then we look at why CRO fails today. What are the pitfalls? What are the challenges? And we have a Lead Walnut has proprietary framework for to implement CRO, or how do we implement as a 6-step process. And while we do that, we also will understand how do you first start? How do you select the pages which deserve the most attention in terms of the conversion and give you early results? So that's what we'll see in page selection strategy. And then we'll go deep. We'll do a little bit of deep dive into diagnostic steps, what you do once you have identified the page, what exactly you look at to analyze the gaps. And A/B testing, as we know, is a very one of the important steps in CRO. So we look at it, some of the mechanisms of A/B testing, and yeah, with some implementations, real examples. We'll see UI UX trust signals and the results, live case studies, the result Lead Walnut code from implementation of CRO at B2B SaaS clients, and some key takeaways and way forward. So that's in a summary, a nutshell, we will look at in the subsequent slides. So yeah, we know today more than 60% clicks results without any traffic. People no clicks are not people don't click now. More than 60%. People just read and move on. Right, and so there is a drop in CTRs, close to 30%, and conversions are 2 to 3% in SaaS. Now that's very low, considering we are saying that buyers are becoming well informed. They are very high intent buyers, because only those buyers are coming which are interested. Nobody's coming to gain knowledge or get some information, because that they're getting anyways in the front screens of the LLMs and AI overviews and so on. So 2 to 3% is very poor. If still you are getting 2 to 3%, it should be 10%, I would say, because now you are getting the right people who are actually looking for the solutions, right? So that's the one area to look at, and CRO becomes more critical for SaaS companies. Now, let's just give an example. As we say, traffic is not growing at a pace the way it used to in the past, right? So let's say, if we look at this, let's say your traffic remains the same, right? But if you uplift your conversion rate by 20%, from 3% to 3.6%, or let's say you uplift by 50%, you take it to 4.5%. See how the conversion, the actual numbers, people who, whatever your goal is, here we have said monthly trial, how that increases 150 to 225 months with the same traffic. So conversion can have significant gains if implemented properly. So that's a huge opportunity for the SaaS organizations. Now, why it's broken, because again, still SEO teams are looking at some vanity metrics, which are ranking, sessions, traffic, and all that, right? And optimization stop at click. If somebody clicks, you're on top 3 positions, and that's where SEO role ends. That's where nobody looks at what happens after that. Are they converting visitors who have visited the site? What happens to that, right? Generic playbook fails, and generally, there's a belief, it's a traditional belief, CROs for e-commerce SaaS has higher cycle times, technical buyer, different trust. So, how will it work here? So there is a old school thinking is there, and that's why people don't try it, don't put enough efforts here. And because their volumes are low, A/B tests are far more hard, because like e-commerce, you have millions of traffic coming. But here, that's not the case. So A/B tests become slightly more difficult, expensive, because you have less data and you have to analyze, and can be inconclusive sometimes. So people don't take efforts to continue with those, right? And as we said, geo has changed the whole landscape now, right? And you are getting, though the one benefit is you are getting very high intent visitors, right? But are you really making use of this opportunity, or you're wasting it, right? Are you really looking at it by looking how to implement CRO and make best use of that? That's a question, right? So as I said, Lead Walnut has a 6-step framework to get maximize your revenue or output from the CRO process. And yeah, simple, quite intuitive. You first identify pages. That's very critical, which have high potential pages to convert, right? You don't go after pages, select random pages. So that's very important, right? And then define goals. What's your goal? I mean, book a demo, contact sales, or trial, free trial, whatever is your goal. Define a clear goal. And like e-commerce has purchases, right? So goal has to be defined so that we can measure it, baseline it, and track it. Metrics, that's what it says. You baseline your goals, right? And also the current performance using whether Hotjar, Clarity, and all that. How is the users right now interacting with the various sections or components of the page? Right? That gives you a lot of data, which we'll see subsequently, some more details, right? To get started. And then based on that, you form some hypothesis. That's how you start now analyzing the data, the attention span, the scroll data, right? And click distribution, and so on. You get a lot of data. And then based on that, you start your hypothesis. And once you have the recommendation, then you run A/B tests. There are tools available, Optimizely, VW, traffics, you spread the traffics and run that. And then, of course, deploy, monitor, and refine. Continuously check and do the iteration as needed. So that's a very powerful framework which we have used in our existing clients and have shown really real upliftment in the conversions. Now, as I said, which pages we need to pick for CRO? Very, very important. Right? So don't waste time. And after 5 months, say, oh, pages were not correct what we picked, right? So some criteria we can use here, which is high traffic, low conversion, decision stage pages, high bounce or low scroll, right? Your ICP actually lands here. There are tools which can tell you where the ICP is landing, right? And low click through and all that. So based on your website, based on your needs, you have to have some criteria, which pages you are picking, which can give you maximum conversion. So that's very important step in the whole process. And now diagnosis. Once you have identified the step, now there's a diagnosis. You need to start diagnosing first, diagnosis before you recommend a solution, right? While you can't see much here, but you see here there was a plan was given, and there's a very high attention here when we look at the data. Features of the product features were here at this section, and they're also high attention. And comparison, feature comparison table. But actual feature when comes, attention is low, but at the comparison, there was high attention. And FAQ will come as a medium attention. So this gives you a kind of a user behavior and journey where the attention is high and where the attentions are low and medium. So you take a corrective action. I will see later how it helps you to take some of the corrective action based on this data. Right? Scroll depth, where people bounce or leave the page, right? Where the maximum drop happens, right? So identify that section. We again also saw last slide feature. That feature section, there's a drop happening there. Now imagine if your CTAs are not here and your CTAs, your trust, everything is below it, and you didn't know that everybody is just dropping here. They're not seeing the actual thing you want to show them. Your price, your, all those stuff are below it, which is not visible. How much you're losing? You're losing such prospective buyers. But by understanding this, we know where is a drop and how to address that, and also some of bring our important aspects of the page like pricing or some trust markers or CTs above it maybe, because we see maximum drop happening here. So we want to engage them better and take corrective action based on that. So this is very important diagnostic step. Scroll down. Click distribution, where exactly you have a lot of navigational links and CTS. Where are your users or audience who are getting on the page? Where are they clicking? Right? Are they clicking on the primary CTA, or they're just clicking on navigational clicks on the navigational menu bars and so on, right? So that gives some clarity here. Where are they exactly clicking, right? So we see here primary CTA receiving only 207 clicks, low CTR. So we know people are not clicking many on those, right? And so on. So this gives you another aspect to look at, right? And take corrective action. Now, so these are the three important, as we looked at from the diagnostic angle: attention maps, scroll depth, click distribution. That tells you a huge story about the user behavior on the page, and that becomes your basis to form a hypothesis now to recommend a correct solution, right? Now, A/B test is very important, and just to give you a view on that, what all can you do A/B testing? Headlines, hero copy, CTA button, social proofs, design of the form, pricing, that's very important part, trust elements, all these things you can have some options, and you can do A/B testing and think what works, right? And we know why it's critical, right? So that let data decide exactly what to put there, rather than somebody, people keep coming out with their own recommendation. Let data decide what works and what doesn't work, right? And before you do full deployment, it helps you to de-risk some of the factors there, right? And yeah, as we said, A/B testing, you form a hypothesis, build variants, run test, analyze, and deploy the winner. Whichever of the variants, multiple variants which you had selected for A/B test, choose the best one, and there are some tools which will help you with the A/B testing. You can use one of them. Yeah. So this is very critical part of the whole process, and must be done before you deploy the actual solution. Just to show you some of the changes, we did, like, I know you may not be able to see clearly, but you see this was the kind of a, attention map showed us that this kind of table has very low attention. And then we improved the layout to, when we saw that attention improved here, we got the better attention when the UI was changed. Similar happened here also, UI UX, we were seeing a lot of drop off. These are features. 35% drop was happening. It looks like very content heavy section. So which again changed the UI UX improvements, and we saw subsequent improvement in the drop off here. And similarly, CTR, people are not clicking here on CTS. So we CTS always should be followed by trust marker, right? And we also change, see here, there's a big sentence. We also change easy to read, more motivating statement. So CTA, you have to give enough reason for your prospects to click it with a trust marker and some motivating statement. Why should I click on that? So all that was changed and saw significant improvement on CTS here. So just to show you some examples here. And these are kind of changes we keep doing on the pages. And then now, before I look at the actual results, what we got, while we go there, what is the difference, traditional CRO versus AI-powered CRO, right? Now, difference is all data-driven. That's the scale, the speed, right? Those are the things which definitely becomes easy to handle now with AI CR. So we are also building a lot of agents which can help you to get more data, more accurate data, faster data, can scale up faster, can do far more pages analysis at one time, and so on. Right? As you said, data analysis, manual heat maps, right? Gut feel interpretation. Now it's all done by AI. Is very, very data driven. Right? Data is very important. Speed. You can do only when maximum 1 to 2 A/B tests. Now you can do multiple tests with this using AI tools and agents. Personalization, right? Same page for all visitors in a segment. Individual level, you can create on the fly multiple variants of the page based on the intent, behavior. AI can do much faster speed and what you imagine it can implement quickly, right? Hypothesis, right? Again, data-driven hypothesis, not it's a person-driven human miss and all that. And scalability. Earlier we said we can do 2 pages per month, 3 pages. Now that not restriction. You can just deploy a tool. It can go and scan multiple pages at a time and give you the results. So a lot of changes are happening, and it's becoming important also because buyer attention span is less, and they have less time, and they're very well informed. So when they come, your page has to be super high quality, highly engaging content, and that's how AI helps you to do much faster. Take the data, what happened last 1 month, again suggest changes with some best practices. Of course, human in the loop is always needed to supervise, but it can help you to take very quick decisions, and you need it. Otherwise, you'll start losing much more business than in the past, right? So very important. That's why in this Geo AI age, the CRO is very, very critical. So some of the results, what we saw some changes we made at client side. So it's one of our clients in US, remote access SaaS, and same process we followed. You can have a look at that. I'm not going to read each thing, but we saw 2x increase in free trial, 3.5x conversions, and 16% scroll depth increase once all that diagnosis was done and implementation was done on the solution page. So that drive a lot of conversion. And the real results. Same with another client, online faxing service, and there's a revenue growth of 45%. And number of transaction uplift by 49%. So huge uplift you can see. Even traffic also, sometime when you change, the users start getting more engagement. Your the time on the page increases, so Google see that this page is very important, and your ranking improves, and it start driving more traffic. Also, as a side effect, that's not the aim of it, but it helps indirectly. And revenue and all that start getting real results. And again, one more example here. We saw 21% increase, all that within 3 months. So the real results. Once you do systematically implement CRO with the right pages, right A/B testing approach, right hypothesis, right diagnosis, all that, you definitely will see real results here. No doubt about it. And we have seen it in the past with most of our clients, and which are sticking to us for 2 to year, 3 years only because of this practice. And this become more critical now. Right. Now, just quickly take away. So what we have learned, we're just coming to an end. What we have learned so far, intent is rising. We have seen AI shrinking organic traffic. So we have to, high intent buyers, right? Don't waste them. So that's the first kind of a takeaway. Diagnose with data, not opinion, right? Attention map, scroll depth, we saw that, click distribution. Let data decide what is to be done. It's not, human judgment here, right? Building a fix, because that can keep changing perspective, subjective and so on, right? CRO compounds, that's important thing, that once you implement some recommendations, right? And it helps in multiple ways. As I said, it can help traffic, it can help engagement, right? So every small change you made, it helps you to improve the page performance in multiple ways, right? And CRO is the highest ROI lever. Now if as a SEO team or GEO team, if we don't talk about conversions or building revenue, I think that's not acceptable to the clients. So that's very critical part. A/B testing is the heart of any CRO process. So you need to be well familiar with the tools and see how to implement that. And results are not artificial, or it's not a theory or a story. These are real results, what we see once we implement all this. Diligently, systematically, if you do, you see real results, measurable results, right? All right. So we've come to the last slide. So in case you want to, improve conversions on your website, we can definitely help. In case you do an audit, and normally we suggest a kind of a pilot, a 3-month pilot. So it's a risk-free kind of engagement. We are not telling engage with us for a long time. Give us a couple of pages, 2-3 pages, run a pilot, and we can show you to run the whole process what we have gone through, and show the needle moving there in terms of conversions, right? And so feel free, to book any free 30-minute pilot call where we can share more details with you with some very specific to your website and your needs, and then take it forward accordingly. So thank you so much. We have come to the end of this webinar. And now I'm happy to take any questions which you may have. I think as a question, how you can write your questions in the chat. Yeah, please write your question in the chat. And then, right?
Yeah, Ajay, we can unmute and talk as well. There's
okay, all right. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, quick question. While running A/B testing, right, how much time we should actually run the A/B test to understand whether the hypothesis is getting results or not, or to understand the impact on conversion?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a minimum 2 weeks just to collect reasonable data, right? And so I think if you're able to collect reasonable data, 2 weeks is good time. But if you're not able to collect reasonable data, we should extend by a week or so further, so that you have good data to take a decision on which you can take your decision, right? So yeah, 2 weeks I would say is the minimum time you should do.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions? All right, looks like no more questions here. No problem. You can always reach out to us. I think we have given the email IDs are there on the website, and communication also. So please reach out. Feel free any question in the future, and we will be sharing with all the participants the webinar recording. And we have whosoever has joined, we will also share a CRO checklist with you, which we'll send it to you shortly, which you can use it to implement this process in your company and in your business, right? All right. Thank you so much for joining the webinar, and we keep conducting such webinars, and happy to host you next time. We'll keep communicating to you our calendar and invite to you. So please feel free, if you find it interesting and useful, please feel free to join. Thank you so much. Have a good day and good night.
Thank you so much.